How do you craft a speech for Toastmasters to be 5 to 7 minutes? Well, if you go on Toastmasters International and look it up, they'll tell you or organize your speech in a sequence, a logical sequence, starting with the opening, and then the main points, and then the summary. Very simple. Then practice, rehearse, and become familiar with the stage in which you're going to present it. But I say become familiar with the audience, because you have to transmit an idea to the audience. And then choose comfortable clothing and consider visual aids. And when you consider the visual aids, make sure that they tie in and they're used in your demonstration. But they're not superfluous and not excess. So let's just take an example and we'll talk through it. Example I want to use is something, not bloopers, but something called mortification. And I want to compare how mortification and bloopers are different. Bloopers, we laugh at. We look at the television. We laugh at bloopers. I'll show you a few bloopers. And we think they're funny, but they're not funny to the person that it applied to. That person is mortified. That person is in the deep state of mortification. In other words, it's like embarrassment. Now, the word itself, mortification, comes from the word death. And the Christian community picked up on that word and said, you have to be mortified and then overcome that, and then you are worthy. So today, however, mortification means extreme social embarrassment. Now, I'm sure that you people can think back and remember some of those events that you would change if you could. And I can recall every mortification that I ever experienced as if it just happened right now. I forget everything else. I forget what I had for breakfast. I forget that the kids are coming over this afternoon. I forget different things, short-term memory, but I do not forget when I was horribly mortified and socially embarrassed. When I fall asleep at night, I get a voice saying, "Oh, shall we play the bloopers over again?" And they are as clear as if they were happening right now. And my brain will say, no, let's put that off to another day. But my brain will automatically begin. Here it is, 1995. You're giving a presentation to 300 people, and you're standing up there with a laptop computer, the first time ever seen in a presentation, and an overhead view graph projector. So the moderator introduces you and takes a long time for the introduction. Well, meanwhile, and I didn't know this at the time, the laptop, suddenly the screen went black. And I was terrified. I turned to the screen and I was ready to start my presentation. And people were waiting, and I was expected to talk for about 45 minutes. It was a keynote speech, and the laptop went black. Literally. The screen was black. However, I had a backup. I had an overhead view graph projector with a stack of slides, which I'd put on the overhead view graph projector, and it would project up on the wall, up on the screen. And this was on a piece of plastic, and then I would draw whatever I wanted. And that's how I communicated. Or it would be when I was working with a professional development in a very important meeting. I came in and I didn't realize it at the time, but my fly was open. Now, this is a time when we had a suit and tie, and as I walked into the meeting, I'd stop at the bathroom and make sure I was all snazzied up and looking fine, and that my shirt tail would be pulled down so I wouldn't show any wrinkles, because we had cotton shirts, and you had to press them. And I had a blue suit, blue tie, and I walked in, and my zipper was open. Also, when I ran into a very famous person, John Denver, who passed away, he's a singer, and I was right there at the Marriott in Washington, D.C., and I could not think of a thing to say. Most embarrassing. And the list goes on and on and on. When my granddaughter, I took her up to Hollywood, and we met one of the famous Hollywood stars. And he was talking with my granddaughter, and he said, "Take a picture." And I fumbled around with my camera, and I couldn't get the camera working, and I was mortally embarrassed. I was totally mortified. So what is it? We are learning more from the neuroscientists today, and we know that the drug norepinephrine is released into the brain during highly embarrassing moments, even traumatic moments. And also seems like norepinephrine is good for retrieving long-term memories, which is one of the reasons that traumatic incidents can be detailed. I guess there are good reasons too, as well, to hang on to these memories so we don't repeat them. It's a cautionary thing. It's just built into our system. And there are also nightmares, probably from which these memories are made. And it gives you a chance to go back in and correct those things. That's what your nightmare does. I guess I can remember, not to be condescending, like I was in Apollo headquarters when I was a vice president, and when I was unknowingly belittling a colleague, and she lit into me like a lightning strike and said, "Don't you patronize me." I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And what is patronizing? Well, if someone patronizes you, they speak on behalf toward you in a way that seems friendly, but that shows that they are superior. So I guess I was acting superior. At any rate, that is mortification. And then that's the idea that I'll want to get across in this speech that I give. And I will construct and craft the speech around that idea and then come in with a good closing statement. And that is how you organize a speech. That's how you craft a speech for Toastmasters for 5 to 6 minutes.